Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back to Prelude Live. My name is Harley J. Callahan. Welcome back to the podcast. We have some familiar faces. We have Chase Gill. Is it Gillen or Gilman?
Gillen, but all right.
Gillen. We have Chase Gillen over here. He's a familiar face, and then we have a few familiar slash not so familiar faces. So we'll go down the line, starting with the beautiful young lady to my upper. If I'm looking at the screen, upper right. In the middle, upper middle, we have Sherilyn. Hello, Sherilyn.
Hello.
Who are you and what do you do?
I'm more of like the administration, accountability, keeping track of some of the finances of the ministry, just making sure that we stay as close to what we stand for as possible, making sure that we stay to our values and what we create and everything like that. Yeah.
She also reels me in when I go on tangents.
That's
This is true.
All right, next up we got the amazing, handsome young man to her right, if you're looking at the screen, Mr. Evan. Evan, what do you do and who are you?
Hello. I'm the bass player. That's what I do
For the
interlude band.
there you
We
go.
don't have a name.
Nah, you should come up with one. That'd be a good idea.
A praise team or whatever.
Praise team, worship band, something like that.
Yeah.
And then last, but certainly not least, this man, sometimes a machine because he can just do everything perfectly. To the bottom of Evan, you know, we have Jake. Jake, who are you and what do you do?
What's up? I am a cook. Honestly, I make really good food, and whoever wants to cook with me, they're welcome to.
Nice. Yeah, so these are kind of like our kind of team leads slash people who have taken more of a responsibility role in the interlude ministry. There's obviously so many other people who play a part of it, and eventually we'll get them on here. But for now, this is just the people who have invested the most time and most energy into it. Some of the people who have, you know, and who are open to taking more responsibility. So, yeah. So let's get into kind of just real briefly. What we each individually want to accomplish with the ministry, and we'll reverse it. We'll go Jake, Evan, Sherilyn, Chase, and myself.
For me, I still see my objective as the same as my intro from the Instagram post, which is basically food has always been like a way to love people. It's definitely a kind of strange love language for me as well, and I see that it is a good way for me to kind of show love to other people and build up a community.
Right on.
Yeah, I always kind of enjoy getting together with people, and this is a nice place to do that.
Awesome. Evan?
Really, where I would focus on is the community aspect. I really like just being able to get together with just a group of Christians and people who are not Christian in a I guess less of a structured church setting where we have worship and then a sermon and then you hang out afterwards. This is more I mean we do have worship, but it's not not as structured, more free flowing, I guess, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Just being able to hang out as a community really within the church.
Yeah, I like that.
Nice. My turn.
Miss Sherilyn.
So I really wanted to accomplish just hanging out and getting a different type of environment instead of a common church setting where it was as structured, just like Evan said, and getting to know people on a deeper level, but also a little bit more laid back where you don't have to okay, I'm at church, I gotta kind of be a little bit more refrained, but to show you more of your creative and your personality, and that's what you like to do for fun. So it's more of a way to get to know people. So it's similar to what we do with our young adults and going to in and out afterwards, but like having an actual event designated to it. And then also I get to work on my cooking skills with Jake. So that was pretty fun in the last one that we did.
Heck yeah. Food was dank.
Yeah.
All right. I guess that leaves me, right?
Yeah.
I guess my biggest thing I want to accomplish would probably be just to, because I have a threefold position, right? I do a little bit of the worship. I do a little bit of kind of making sure that this ministry is sort of technically advanced in a way that gets the content where it needs to be. And in a sense, that also requires that I pull a bit of an administrative role too. So for me, it's all about just making sure everything goes smooth, everything is time managed well, everything is working the way it's supposed to be, and just making sure that the experience is what we want it to be. So for me, that's probably my primary goal.
Yeah, that's dope. I think I mentioned it last podcast, but and I can also I agree with everyone's kind of sentiment of just kind of building a healthy community, and through the act of sharing gifts. And I think that's what separates kind of us is like we're more open to allowing people to share their gifts in a unique, different way. So, for example, I work closely with the art team, and so getting to share people's art in that way is a really awesome thing we get to experience and work through. Sharing people's kind of like music taste and idea has been really fun. Sharing people's cooking, and then whatever else that might entail. So I just love sharing different experiences with people, and I just love I love hanging out with people, and just having a little kickback and just relaxing, eating good food, listening to some good music. So yeah, I definitely agree with all that, and I think that would bleed into the next question, what was be accomplished as a ministry, So I think we all kind of said it. If anyone else wants to add to it, I think as a ministry, what we want to accomplish is maybe just allowing people to feel welcome in a, kind of like Sherilyn and Evan and Jake all said, in a not structured environment, kind of a little bit more free flowing, I'd say that's part of the overall ministry goal,
Yeah, I think I would add that the gifts that we kind of promote are not necessarily gifts that have been promoted regularly in church services before. That we're a lot more open to accept other things.
Yeah, absolutely. That's right on, guys. But yeah, and so we're talking a lot about community and having a communal aspect. What is what do you guys think a healthy community should and does look like? And do you think that our generation, or the people we're around, not our generation, that's too broad, are the people we're around kind of facilitate that at least,
You mean the people within the the ministry?
The people within the ministry, people who are coming into the ministry, and people who are looking at the ministry,
Mm-hmm.
What do you think healthy community looks in that aspect,
Mm-hmm. Are we going in order or no?
Just whoever's got an answer.
Yeah, no, yeah.
Okay. Well, I kind of think a healthy community is something that's positive, where we're all uplifting, and we all really want to show how we show Christ through our personality, and how we should treat others even if they aren't believers, and just being a positive environment to where people of all ages can come and hang out and blend the generations almost.
Yeah.
We have people who are more well aged, and then we have some younger people come. And
we had
some
a full-on dad crew there last one.
Yeah. So getting to mix with different generations and the ages, as well as sharing life stories and stuff like that. I think it's really healthy to learn from other people, and to you have some people that are more well aged and that can give some really good advice to people that are younger than us, and just having that be a good influence overall.
Yeah, I like that. Absolutely.
Yeah, I think to add to that too, and Sherilyn made a good point, is the idea of having all walks of life kind of blend together. So no matter kind of what age you are, kind of what your interests are, where you've been, where you're going, the idea to just kind of mix all those things together so that everybody has sort of a unique view, but also a common view of things, is kind of just really cool to see how that all comes together.
Yeah, I think it's like kind of like what you would like expect a church service to do in a way, but at least for me, like I don't know, it's just something about like the structure of the church today, and we're not talking about like the church we all attend or any church in particular, just the church in general, the big C. I just there's something about it that doesn't really push me to want to connect to like someone older and or younger than me. It kind of just it is what it is. And so I think what's cool about this event is it's like it's sparking kind of like that interest in the older people who maybe valued those kind of like things beforehand, like maybe had an artistic side but kind of had to let go of it because of whatever, and now they get to kind of like see it again and tap into it, and it even like inspires like a younger person from us, and they're like, oh wow, I can do that, but I also don't have to kind of like struggle and have to like figure out how to like share my art, because that's one of the biggest things. Like for me personally, I want to create a space where like let's just use painting for an example, like a local painter could share their art, and it's kind of hard to like find those places. You have to have the right connections, and even then it's really hard to just share your art, unless it's on like Instagram, but I would rather have them come to us and we help them share it and like teach them how to like facilitate that on their own. So yeah.
When I think of community, I have this image of like basically a group of people that are kind of like ride or die people for each other. They will be there for each other no matter what. And I think that's a really valuable part of basically feeling known and knowing other people. I don't necessarily think, like, I know that not everyone in Interlude feels that way, but I think that's something that I want to strive for. And I think just sharing gifts, it's a good common ground. It's things that make us human, and just to share that with each other, and then with that setting we can maybe look a little bit further.
That's awesome. I really like that. That's good, dude.
Yeah, I think something I'd like to add to that too, the idea of bringing unique gifts together, right? It's the cool thing about this whole team and this whole kind of mission that we're on is to take people that have all kinds of gifts, no matter what it is, whether it's art, music, cooking, you name it, right? Whatever gift that is, we're taking all these unique gifts and putting them in one place and seeing kind of what they come up with. And I think that's something unique that the church as a whole, although they do a decent job of doing that, they don't really highlight it as much, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, we're all pretty well educated in the church world. I think there are certain churches that do it, but never, there's always like a pattern they fall into, like I've never really seen a church consistently be, pouring into each other's gifts so kind of blatantly, like there's like certain sparks, like I remember I was at Biola, and I was at a conference there, and there was a guy giving a sermon while he was like digging a hole, and I thought that was such like a beautiful image of like God saving us, but like you don't see that normally on like a Sunday service, so it's not as blatant. And I like the idea that we are blatantly like, hey, these are all people created in God's image. We stand by these people, and we're going to share with these people their gifts.
Yeah, just to add on that, it's not necessarily like that church isn't like focusing on stuff like that. Like we do have certain ministries where like there's like dance ministry, and like there's ways that you can do cooking and stuff like that. But like we want to bring it all into one area, to where like if someone who's not necessarily interested in cooking sees someone cooking like the actual meal there, then like maybe like they'll like, oh, so what can I help out? Like, what do you guys do exactly? What are you guys cooking? Maybe it'll like spark an interest that way.
Yeah.
So it's to not as like not just focus on the one like special gift that each person has, but it's to share everyone's gift. And that like a gift is like a talent or anything that they can bring to the table. So it's like cooking and art and organization is could be one. Like it really is like the world is at our disposal. There's so many gifts that people bring to the table, and it's just a really beautiful place to have everyone come together and be able to show it and just like share what we are passionate about.
Yeah, and sometimes like you don't know those people have those certain gifts. Like, so I'm known to like stretch the truth maybe just like a little bit. Like I remember like I was telling someone like, oh yeah, dude, like Chase and like Evan are like amazing musicians. They like they're in my band right now and like all this stuff. Like, wow, really? And Chase and Evan are saying the side of like, stop lying to these people. We just comes for a worship camp. But like people like, you know, people who have known you guys for like multiple years, they're just like, you do that? And you're like, oh yeah. You know, same thing with like Jake. I think I was talking to Moy, and we're gonna get Moy on here one day. And I was telling him about like how great your cooking is before he came to Interlude. He's like, really? Jake cooks? I'm like, yeah. He's like, he's so quiet, I wouldn't have guessed. I'm like, I know, right? He's like good at like a bunch of different things. And then he came and he like tried the food and he was like blown away, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And Moy's picky, dude. That's a picky food eater. So yeah, it's just cool to like kind of just, you know, see people in different lights, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we've talked about that topic for a little bit, so we'll get into our kind of next section, and it's something that like I love to say. However, I think me and Sherilyn have had the most kind of conversation about it because we have differing opinions on it, but I think like our hearts are the same. I like to think that Interlude is the perfect sober house party. And like that phrase alone has gotten me so many dirty looks. Not just but like that's just how I look at it, you know? And I'll go into like why I think it is, and you guys can tell me I'm wrong again. But like I look at it like I look at the times I've been into like very, I'm not trying to like incriminate myself. I've only been in like a few house parties, and all of them were like kickbacks. And just the environment of just like getting to talk to people outside of all the sketchy things, you know, that was really cool. You know, you get to like meet someone new, you know, get into a conversation you never did. You get to eat great food. You get to dance a little bit. I don't dance personally, but like I guess other people do. And being like Hispanic, like that's just like the community. Like you go, you have a party, and it's like it's a commitment. It is like a half-day commitment. And so I look at it that way as like a sober house party where like no one's inebriated, no one's kind of like, you know, gonna get hurt. It's got all the same qualities that like a house party would have, it's just without the toxicity, you know? So that's why I call it that. Because I think we bring that kind of joy and excitement that like a house party would do without the toxicity. So please tell me I'm wrong.
I see it more as like a family get together if you were, well, basically not white. I think of like a African, like an African party where they're just like, they're cooking the entire day and you're smelling it, and then you eat and then you dance. Or like an Hispanic party where it's just like, it's the same thing. You eat and you dance, and it's like, that's awesome. I want to have that with people. And well, I mean, we could also look at it as like an analog to like early Acts when believers were meeting every day at the temple, going over to each other's houses and eating together every day. Granted, I don't think that we can sustain every day, not us, but we want to have that kind of community.
Yeah. No, I don't want you guys at my house all day.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. And I think it's not necessarily like that his definition of what a house party is wrong. Like I like that. I just don't like the word sober house
wording.
because like that's not how I would ever explain a ministry.
Well, we all know the
Um,
law, so
Yes.
It just has negative connotations.
Yeah,
But like,
it's the connotation.
yeah, it's really just like you coming to celebrate with people that are like people who are believers and people who are non-believers. It's really just a
Yeah.
place to come like celebrate like the gifts and talents that people have, and in a positive environment. It's like nobody here is gonna give you like negative like criticism and stuff like that. Like any like things that we say or bring up would be positive, and like any way that we could help improve you as a person or in your relationships or anything or in your gifts and talents. But it's like overall it's just supposed to be positive. So it's almost like a party, but like without the house and the silver. But yeah, so it's fun.
yeah. Yeah, verbs and adjectives. I understand.
Yeah.
That kind of like gets into like another point too. Is so when you and I'm pretty sure we're all older. We've all we're in college. I'm not going to give away anyone's ages or are currently in college. We've kind of experienced what secular culture is, and so when you go to like a like let's just keep with the party analogy, like a party there, or like a kickback, there are certain ways you keep that kind of environment going, but how do you do that? And part of it is like narcotics and alcohol. Other part of it could be like the type of music you're listening to, how do we kind of keep the not just the positivity but the energy of the gathering going without those typical things, so like for example, I do not like Christian music. I think I have my own opinion about it. We'll get into it later. I don't like it, and I much rather listen to some kind of like super dope R&B, like gangster hip hop. Like that's how I keep like myself involved in like an environment, but like in something like this, it's probably not called for because a lot of it, like I'll admit, is not positive. Like Sherilyn was saying, like it uses profanity mostly against like women. So how do we keep that like energy going without the typical things,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, well, when I was in college, all of 1 year ago. Anyway, a lot of like, I mean, either like parties or club events, or maybe they were like events within the different colleges at my university or majors. Even a lot of the ways you get people to go there and to stay is food. So I mean, that I don't know, that's a big reason for people to go.
Yeah,
A lot of people.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is one reason, but being able to eat food and good food with your friends, that's a great way to keep a community going, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Evan's biased.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he brings up good points too, right? The food is a good community builder, and on top of that, building a community, just how you present that sort of that vibe and that sort of environment is a very key part too, because we're striving to get everybody involved. So it's not just the team is sort of leading the event, like in a sense we are, but we're also leaving it open so that like all participants have some key part in running the event.
Yeah.
And that's a key part of what makes us kind of unique in the way we do things, is that everybody's involved. Whether you're on the team or you're just participating in the event, you're doing something to make a difference.
We have so many different aspects and interests that bring so many people. So it's like you're bound to at least like one of the things that we have there, whether it's music, which is very popular, or art or cooking, and it's just again it's a positive environment, and it's one of the things that I think is a main like attraction for it is that it's like nobody's gonna judge you there, and if people do judge, then we're gonna call them out on it, because we're trying to make it a positive place where people go and they can relax, like get away from your busy schedule and everything like that, and just like take a moment for yourself and just to like really like expand your horizons almost, to like get into something new or to encourage others to get into something that you're passionate to
Yeah.
or about. And so, yeah, it's a fun place.
Yeah, and I think with that said too, because we have about a couple minutes left before we have to end it here. Does anybody want to maybe kind of wrap up this episode and maybe go into the next episode, kind of what we're going to talk about?
I can kind of do that unless anyone else wants to.
Go ahead.
I have controller issues. I'm sorry. Yeah. So we've kind of like mentioned a lot about like the different aspects and kind of at least for me, I've been using the word art a lot, and I believe that we are all creative beings and that we are all meant to create. And I think anything we do for the glory of God, you can see as a work of art. You know, I think cooking's a work of art. I think music's a work of art. I think art is a work of art. I think we're meant to create. And so I think the next episode we're definitely going to talk about what kind of art means to each of us individually and then as a collective. So that'll be the next episode.
Anybody got anything to add?
It's pretty good.
Yeah, sounds good to me.
All right. I think with that said, we'll go ahead and end it here, and we'll see you in the next episode.